When was the last time you looked into your family photo album? Yeah, the one with the hardcover pages. I bet you can't recall. Why? Because in today's digital age, visual content reigns supreme, so efficiently storing and transmitting images has become an essential skill. And at the heart of this process lies a powerful compression technique known as JPEG, the unsung hero that has revolutionized the way we share and experience digital imagery. Before we delve into the intricacies of JPEG compression, let's take a moment to appreciate the significance of image compression as a whole. Imagine a world where every digital image remained in its raw, uncompressed form. A world where a high-resolution photograph could consume gigabytes of storage space and take an eternity to upload or download. Compression algorithms like JPEG have changed the game, allowing us to efficiently store and share even the most detailed and vibrant images with little storage space. It's a technological marvel, and it's enabled us to capture and share our memories like never before. To get us started, let's make a quick historical stop. In the late 1980s, a joint committee of experts from various industries came together with a singular goal to develop a standardized compression technique for digital images. Their collaborative efforts birthed the Joint Photographic Experts Group, or JPEG for short. JPEG compression quickly became the industry standard, revolutionizing image storage and transmission across the digital landscape. Its ability to balance compression efficiency and visual quality made it an invaluable tool for photographers, designers, and everyday users alike. Now, let us welcome you to the JPEG compression pipeline. It's kind of like a high-tech assembly line. Your image goes through various processing stages to emerge as a lean, mean, compressed machine. It does this in 6 steps. Step 1. Color space conversion. The first stop on our compression journey is the color space conversion station. You see, digital images are typically represented using the RGB color model, which stands for red, green, and blue. You know, if that wasn't already obvious. But just like a good rebel, JPEG likes to play by its own rules, so it converts the image to the YCBCR color space. Why YCBCR? You ask? Well, that's because this color space separates the brightness information, Y, from the color information, CB and CR. And since the human eye is more sensitive to brightness than color, JPEG can compress the color channels more aggressively without us noticing too much of a difference. Number 2. Subsampling. Next up, we have the subsampling station. Once the image has been converted to the YCBCR color space, JPEG employs this technique. This process involves reducing the resolution of the color channels, CB and CR, while preserving the full resolution of the brightness channel, Y. By subsampling the color channels, JPEG takes advantage of the human eye's relatively lower sensitivity to color details, allowing for significant file size reduction without significantly impacting the perceived image quality. This step alone can result in a substantial reduction of file size. It's like that friend who always wants to save money on their cable package by downgrading their channel station. You know, when he's not coming over unannounced saying he wants to chat, when in reality he just wants to watch the game on your cable. Number 3. Block splitting. After the subsampling station, our image moves on to the block splitting station. Here, the image is divided into 8x8 pixel blocks, kind of like cutting a pizza into slices, but a lot more technical, and unfortunately less delicious. Now you might be wondering, why 8x8 blocks? Well, listen up, photophile. It turns out this size is just right for the next step in the compression pipeline, and it allows for more efficient processing and encoding of the image data. This involves a little something they like to call the Discrete Cosine Transform. Number 4. The Discrete Cosine Transform, DCT. Ah, the Discrete Cosine Transform, the mathematical marvel that lies at the heart of the JPEG compression. DCT performs magic tricks that transform each 8x8 block of pixels from the spatial domain into the frequency domain. In the frequency domain, the DCT coefficients represent varying levels of detail within the block, ranging from the overall coarse structure of low frequencies to the finer details of high frequencies. This transformation sets the stage for the next critical step in the compression process, quantization. Number 5. Quantization. Speaking of quantization, that happens to be the next stop on our compression line, if you were paying attention. This is where JPEG likes to play a little rough with those pesky high-frequency coefficients. The reason behind this approach is simple. Our human eyes are more sensitive to changes in low-frequency components with coarse structures than to changes in high-frequency components with fine details. Yeah, our eyes are kind of limited. By sacrificing some of that high-frequency information, JPEG can achieve significant file size reduction while preserving the overall visual quality of the image. During quantization, each frequency coefficient is divided by a quantization value from a predefined quantization matrix. The results are then rounded down to the nearest integer. Basically, the JPEG takes a look at it through this quantization matrix and says, "You know what? We don't really need all those fine details. Let's keep the essentials and ditch the rest." And just like that, our image starts to shed some digital pounds. Or, bytes as we would call them. Number 6. Entropy Coding. After the quantization station, our image moves to the final stop, entropy coding. This is where JPEG performs one last compression trick, kind of like a magician's grand finale. This step involves analyzing how frequently each coefficient value occurs and assigning shorter codes to the more common values, while allocating longer codes to the less frequent ones, basically exploiting their statistical properties. JPEG looks at the quantized coefficients and says, "Hey, I notice a lot of these coefficients have the same value. Instead of storing each one individually, let's assign shorter codes to the most common values and longer codes to the less common ones." It's like a secret code, but for image data. JPEG employs two main entropy coding techniques, Huffman coding and arithmetic coding. Huffman coding assigns shorter codes to more frequently occurring coefficients and longer codes to less frequent ones, while arithmetic coding represents the entire sequence of coefficients as a single fractional value. One key aspect of JPEG compression is the ability to control the balance between image quality and file size, and this trade-off can be controlled by adjusting the compression quality level or quantization factor. At higher quality settings, JPEG retains more high-frequency DCT coefficients, resulting in better preservation of fine details but larger file sizes. Conversely, lower quality settings discard more high-frequency information, leading to smaller file sizes but potentially introducing visible compression artifacts such as blockiness or ringing. Alright, let's have a look at these different limitations and what they mean. Blocking artifacts. One of the most common artifacts is the appearance of visible block boundaries, also known as blocking artifacts. These occur due to the independent processing of 8x8 pixel blocks. They are particularly noticeable in areas of smooth color gradients or high contrast edges, certainly where they're not wanted. At least not if you don't want your pictures looking like they were taken somewhere in Minecraft. Ringing artifacts. These little blighters go by the names ghosting or halos and can appear around sharp edges or high contrast areas in compressed images. They are caused by the quantization of high-frequency coefficients, which can introduce oscillations or ringing effects near sharp transitions. It can kind of make things look like they have a weird outline to it, almost like a cartoon character. Not very professional. Compression blur. At higher compression levels, JPEG can introduce compression blur, which results in a loss of fine details and a softer, smoother appearance in the image. This artifact is caused by the over-aggressive quantization of high-frequency coefficients, which represent fine texture and edge information. Too much of this can make your sharp, clean image look like a watercolor painting that was done by someone who has no idea how to use a paintbrush. Now be sure to take note of the fact that optimal compression setting depends on the intended use and specific requirements of the application. For instance, high-quality images may demand higher compression quality levels, while images intended for web display or mobile applications may require more aggressive compression. Now, while the core JPEG compression process remains basically the same throughout, advanced techniques and extensions to the original JPEG standard have been made. These enhancements look to improve compression efficiency, address specific use cases, or introduce new features. 'Cause anything can be made better, as long as the change is well thought out, unlike certain AAA games. Number 1. Chroma subsampling. This is basically subsampling on steroids. Since our human eye is less sensitive to color resolution than brightness resolution, It further reduces file size by encoding color information at a lower resolution than brightness information. Number 2. Progressive encoding. Progressive encoding is a JPEG feature that allows for the gradual transmission and display of an image, starting with a low-quality version and compressively refining the quality as more data is received. This technique is particularly useful in scenarios where bandwidth is limited or when users need to quickly access the content of an image before downloading the full-quality version. Number 3. Lossless compression. While JPEG is primarily known for its lossy compression capabilities, there are also lossless modes available within the JPEG standard. Lossless JPEG compression allows for the exact reconstruction of the original image data, albeit with more modest compression ratios compared to the lossy modes. As we've explored throughout this video, JPEG compression is a remarkable feat of engineering, combining mathematical principles and balancing the need for efficient data compression while preserving visual quality. It may have potential limitations, but understanding the underlying principles and trade-offs can empower you to make informed decisions about compression settings and quality levels. It's a delicate juggling act, and JPEG is the master performer. And that concludes our comprehensive journey through the world of JPEG compression. I hope you learned a thing or two. Or, I at least hope you paid enough attention to learn that 8x8 is the technological marvel of JPEG that makes our digital lives possible. Until next time, keep exploring, keep creating, and keep those pixels compressed.